What we try to do with this channel is give you an idea of what life is like in Central Texas, what it's like to buy a house in Central Texas, and kind of a glimpse into our culture here. I grew up in Central Texas, and so this is all very normal to me, but my husband, Josh, grew up outside Philly, and so a lot of things that I take as totally normal, he does not see the same way. So we're going to give you a little glimpse of Texan culture through the eyes of a Yankee, and today's topic is Christmas time.
So when I grew up, going out to a Christmas tree farm was pretty normal, and the Christmas tree farms were really close. It was like a 10-15 minute drive to some Christmas tree farm. Your dad would have a saw. It was very Clark Griswold like, but not to that extreme. So everyone was bundled up. You had to wear a scarf and hat and gloves, or else you'd be too cold. So you go out, you'd cut the tree down. It was kind of a mess. You get the sap on your hands. You'd bring it to the house. I remember mom and dad kind of fighting a little bit about all the pine needles all over the floor. And then you get the tree up, and as a kid it was the greatest thing because you just got this experience outside. You probably got hot chocolate and cookies, and then you came into your warm house with the fire, you put the tree up, and then you just decorated it. That's what I remember.
That's really sweet. I mean, I feel like here most people have fake trees. A lot of other people just go to Lowe's. But there are Christmas tree farms you can go to. There's one in Elgin you can drive out to and cut down your own tree. Have we done that?
We did it once. It was hot. I felt funny because as you drive, whether you're going to Lowe's for your Christmas tree or a Christmas tree farm, you're driving with the windows down or the air conditioner on, or both, with Christmas music playing. So it makes me feel very out of place and kind of very uncomfortable. Like, what kind of situation of what have I put myself into? I remember the pine needle sticking to my hands because I was so sweaty. Not because of the sap, because I was sweating.
They serve lemonade instead of hot chocolate.
They serve the hot chocolate, but you need it to be cold.
Pretty sure you wore shorts.
Yeah, I wear shorts every time we go get our Christmas tree. Not to be funny, because it's hot. There's really no other day all year that I feel more out of place and like further from my roots than Christmas tree shopping day. So Christmas lights, when I was a kid, a lot of it was driving around in your car because you could stay warm, and just driving through neighborhoods and looking at the lights, and there was always the houses that kind of went real big. I remember Hershey Park Christmas, which was like a real dialed down version of Hershey Park because it was so cold you couldn't just go on the rides. You just kind of walk around with some hot chocolate, and that's really what it was. A lot of the Christmas light plans, if you made plans to go see Christmas lights, chances are you're going to get canceled because somebody would get sick or just be too cold, and you'd look at each other like, do you really want to go? Nah, let's just do the driving around in the car thing or watch a Christmas movie.
With the heater running.
Yeah, just whatever you had to do to stay warm. And if you did get out, it just wasn't worth driving to a Christmas light show to be out there 5 or 10 minutes and decide it's so cold I got to go back in.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really big difference here.
Everything, when they say things are bigger in Texas, I think the number one thing is Christmas lights.
Yeah, I mean, we have a lot of opportunities to see Christmas lights in this area. Like, we really like that. You can do the Austin Trail of Lights, the Buda Trail of Lights, the Wimberley Trail of Lights. You can drive out to Johnson City to see really good lights. There's Sights and Sounds in San Marcos. There's ice skating in Kyle. There's...
What's the College Station one?
Oh, my sister-in-law watches for flash sales for Santa's Wonderland and College Station because the tickets are like $60-$70 a pop, I think.
So it's just,
they have fake snow and fake ice skating. I mean,
you put fake
do
snow
it up big time.
and
it's
lights,
amazing.
And you might get lines for 3 or 4 hours for people who want to get into experience Christmas with fake snow and fake ice skating.
Or not even. Santa's Ranch, you can wait for 3 hours in that line.
Just to drive through some lights.
Through the Christmas lights.
So people get very, very hyped about the lights down here, whereas in Pennsylvania,
so pretty. It's so pretty.
It's just like, oh yeah, we'll go look at the lights. And here it's like, we are going to look at the lights.
Oh yeah, you put those dates on the calendar well ahead of time.
It's strange to me how Texans, when they decorate for Christmas, I mean, it's typical decorations, but it's very heavy with like the ice and a Christmas tree that has snow on it, lots of snow and ice. Do I need to explain why that's a little strange? Because when
it's Christmas, you're supposed to decorate with snow and ice.
So I feel very out of place just because when I go by a Christmas wreath, very, very coniferous, like lots of pine needles and
Right.
cones. I'm like, that's a northern culture. Like this came from the north. It doesn't feel like that down here. The windows are usually open and it's maybe 80, 85 degrees.
It is not always 80, 85 degrees, just sometimes. And we have cedar trees. They look a little bit like pine trees.
Yeah, I feel weird when the air conditioner's on and I'm looking at the decorations that have a very warm feel. This also ties in with you go to the grocery store in October and they have scarves and mittens for sale and people are buying them when it is actually 90 degrees outside. So it's just a feeling that makes me feel a little out of place.
You have to be ready for the first cold front, though. Like you have gotta have pants that fit, coats that fit. You got to be ready. I mean, and really, we still embrace the seasons. When you're in school, you still color pictures of snowmen and snowflakes and changing brightly colored leaves in the fall. It's just that it's all kind of mythical.
That's a good way to describe it. Everything feels not real, kind of mythical.
But we all know that that's what the season is about, and so we still celebrate.
So the color change we get in Texas happens during the same time that you're hanging your Christmas lights and kind of putting your Christmas decorations out, which again, it just feels a little bit strange to me. So last week we put up our Christmas lights and up on the ladder, and Lindsay's handing me the lights, and we're putting things up, and we just noticed how many leaves are around, and we realized the same day that we put up our Christmas lights, it's the same time that you should be raking your leaves and doing your fall yard work, which I assume seems normal.
Yes.
To me, you do your fall cleanup 2 months before your Christmas decor goes out. So for these things to merge together, again, just makes me feel a little out of place.
I mean, I feel like every year I'm surprised that the colors are changing in December. Like, oh, look, there is color change. It's just late. And I say it probably every year.
Yeah.
But the leaves fall in December so you're raking while you're hanging Christmas lights. And then the leaves come back out on the trees like in late February, early March.
And a lot of times Lindsay's like, oh, look at the color change that tree. And I'm like, well, that one's dead.
Some of them just turned brown.
And definitely there's more color change down by water. Every time you go over a bridge, you're like, oh, look, fall is here. And then you get away from the water and you're like, oh, maybe not so much.
Yeah. But so you were used to like raking and doing leaves like well ahead of Christmas, like 2 months ahead of Christmas.
Yeah, all the leaves are cleaned up and gone.
And the trees
by
are bare.
Thanksgiving. Yeah, trees are bare at Thanksgiving.
Yeah,
Fall
we only have
over.
bare trees for like a month and a half.
December feels like winter in Pennsylvania. I think December feels like, to me, a cool day at the beach. Like if you go to the beach in the summer and it's like, oh, it's a little too cold to go in the water. That's what December feels like here.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful. It is. It's really nice. So Christmas Eve is pretty similar. A lot of times you go to church and you get together with family and the kids are all excited. It feels very nostalgic. It feels the same. But the biggest difference is the Christmas Eve meal.
Oh, right. Yeah.
There was no standard Christmas Eve meal. But you could do something fancy. You weren't ordering pizza. You do something kind of fancy. I remember like that. But here, it's tamales.
Definitely tamales.
And I remember
Texas
when everyone
tradition.
said, oh, of course we're doing tamales. And I kind of looked like, what's that?
No, it's just, you want to come to the house for tamales? Of course we do.
So what are tamales? Are they like tacos? I don't know. And then a plate comes out with corn husks.
Yes.
Like tightly wrapped corn husks. And I'm like, well, did you eat the corn husk? I guess there's something under it. So I learned that you open it up and out comes more corn, more cooked corn. It looks like a corn hot dog, kind of smushed a little bit. And then you take your fork or whatever and you open it up and there's meat in it. Like,
do they not have tamales at all in Pennsylvania?
I never ate a tamale until I came to Texas.
I did not realize that.
And then you could put cheese on it. You could put chili on it. Like
chili, white rice, cheese.
Cheese and
I mean,
chili.
every family builds up their own thing.
Cheese and chili during Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
Most people in the Northeast would at least look at you funny for that. But here, it's just so normal. It's one of the, again.
It's probably one of the biggest Texas Christmas Eve traditions. Like, that's a big one.
It takes some adjusting. So Christmas Day is a very different feel. I remember when I was a kid, I think I was 7 years old and I got a new bike. And when you get an outside toy like a new football or anything, or a bike, and you want to go outside and use it, I remember you have to get all bundled up. It was like a process, and mentally you have to prepare to go outside and you're going to play with it, and then you're going to get cold very quick, and you're going to kind of come in and be inside most of the day on Christmas. I have actually learned to really love the Christmas days here. Have been so nice. They're usually like 75 degrees. Open up the windows. So after you got all that Christmas mess in the morning, you open up the windows and it's just such a nice day.
Yeah.
And you can play with your outside toys all day. In fact, that's what
you can play with your outside toys all day.
Yeah, when I get a new bike or whatever, I'm going to take it for a ride that day. It's going to be one of my favorite parts of the day.
Yeah, and I feel like the Christmas day feels longer in Texas than in Pennsylvania, because it gets dark so early up there that you're like, oh my gosh, Christmas is over, like right away.
It's also usually very dark during the day. I know it's always usually cloudy and either rainy or maybe even a little snow, but it's just not a day. It's bright here. Like I think of Christmas Day, it's almost always a very bright day.
Yeah.
And it's
which to me it adds to the joy of Christmas Day.
Christmas Day should be bright, merry and bright, but in Pennsylvania, it's just not that bright.
Yeah, and then the day after Christmas, you take your Christmas money to the mall and you buy your spring clothes.
Winter's over.
I always want to shop for spring clothes and they're not out yet, so you got to wait. But you're like in that mindset, like, okay, Christmas is over. That means winter is over. Let's focus on springtime.